You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get those podcasts, including YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis, the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. He is Tim Thomas, former Ole Miss basketball player and expert on all things Ole Miss basketball as they sit. I'm just going to go with that, Tim.
That'll work. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, they went out to the West Coast. It's been a couple of weeks since I've talked to you, but Ole Miss basketball seemingly, and I'm not saying they're there, but it feels like they turned a little bit of a corner when they went out to San Diego.
Yeah, they got welcomed to big-time basketball. That's those teams they played were really good. BYU and Purdue, they were in the national championship last year against UConn. Didn't win, but they were really good. And that game right there is, as tiny and close as we've talked about defense and rebounding. If Sean Padula would have blocked that kid out at last play of the game, we'd at least went into overtime. Mm-hmm. So just small little things that Beard harps on and I harp on, the defense and rebounding. It's got to continue to get better. I think we may talk about some. Mark Adams may be the MVP of this team. Mark Adams, the assistant coach for defense, has really made a difference. And I like to say against Louisville, they were a well-oiled machine because they look really good. It's the best I've seen them in years, the first half against Louisville.
They were a menace against Louisville defensively, an absolute menace to where they were causing Louisville not to be able to do anything that they wanted to do. And the only hope that Louisville had to even score when they went down the field was on some kind of a bust where a player slipped or something like that or hitting a three. That was Louisville's only hope.
Yeah. It was good to watch. I've been looking forward to this, and we've been talking about it even back in the Kermit Davis days. It just ain't there. The want to, but right now, and I got to give credit to Mark Adams. He come on this year for assistant coach, and he's really made a difference even from last year. Last year, he wasn't there last year, but he's got the guys who are bought in. They really want to win. Beard says they got their hearts in it, and that's big for a team. You see the highlights and videos after some of these games on SEC Network Plus that they really seem like they love each other. It may be something we don't know about. They really seem like they like each other and play together well, and they don't seem selfish. That's big. No I in team.
The mix of these players also, I think it helps out a player like Jamin Brakefield, who might have been exposed a little bit with Jamarian Sharp and Moussa Cisse and those big guys in there. Because when you had multiple defensive liabilities on the floor, it was fairly easy for other teams, especially by the end of the year, to scheme against Ole Miss's defense. Now, when Jamin Brakefield, who has obviously worked a ton on his defense in the offseason, and this team is playing defense at such a high level, that hole isn't there anymore. And props goes to Jamin Brakefield for kind of making that hole disappear, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, well, I understand it. He has to be the sixth man. They had their 5, 6, 7 guys there, and according to Beard, he said something to him, said, I'm good with being the sixth man. I can see what's going on, and I can come in and make a difference. And he really makes a difference on offense. He's got some great moves, shoots the three well. He still has issues on defense. I'm not totally bought in, but he is better. And as the team gets better, he's better. That no-middle defense really helps. We don't have a real tall guy, super tall guy, except for John Bowl, and he's still working to get better. He won't play a whole lot, just a few minutes here and there, I would think. But the guys inside, Dia and Brown Jones, they're not so-called rim protectors. So the no-middle defense has really got to work, get them over to one side, then help side and trap, and it's still, as you saw against Louisville, they've done it really awesome well, and it was good to see.
The one thing that I'm scared of in SEC play, once SEC play starts, is the rebounding. That's the thing that kind of scares me.
Yeah, it's still an issue. Even some of these games, they've won 20, 30 points. They've still a minus in rebounding, which has got to get better. And it's a working process, and it's a thing that Adams is where defense and rebounding go hand in hand. So I'm sure they're working on it. I'm sure they're trying to find out why, and whatever. But these guys, Dia, Brown Jones, the other guys coming in, and we talked about the guards. They got to do their part because these threes are shot by so many teams. They come out really a long way out, and the guards have got to help. And it helps when Matthew Morrell, he's had a little nagging injury, and he hadn't played several games. I hope he gets better. He didn't play the throwback game that I was at. But I think he's getting better. It's kind of a day-to-day thing, but he makes a difference. He's a great teammate, old guy. They got all these older guys. Beer said the other day they had an issue with the team they were playing, and he came in there and said, hey, guys, we just got to take it inside. We can't be shooting threes all the time. We just can't be shooting threes. So what happened second half, they go inside, and he said, I didn't really have to pinpoint a play. I really didn't have to say much. I just said, hey, guys, let's take it inside. Let's make it an inside game. Let's get fouled. Let's hit our free throws. And that's what they did, and they blew the team out.
Yeah, and Tim, you can speak to this probably more than most, but it's actually harder than it looks to rebound a brick. And whenever you're shooting threes and missing threes and you don't know where that rebound is going to go, it's pretty easy when it just falls off the rim. The big guys can grab those, but when it's a brick and it's going off the back iron and it going basically anywhere, it can be tricky.
The key, as I'm sure Coach Beard told Badula after that missed block out against Purdue, you just got to block your guy out. Whatever whatever the plan is that Beard has set out, or Adams, if you're man to man, you got your guy. There ain't no question. But sometimes in zones and whatever or if you help side, sometimes you have to shift around. But there is a guy in your area that you're supposed to block out. You got to get between him and the goal, and you got to know where the ball is, and you got to kind of, if you play long enough, you can kind of guess where the ball might be going. You know, if they shoot from one corner, you got to know it may come over the other side. So there's things that you learn as you play, but the key is the effort, the want to of blocking your guy out each and every time, no matter where the ball is, no matter where the ball is shot from. You block your guy out, get into him, and then you go get the ball.
And, you know, it's important because Ole Miss needs quad one wins on the schedule because the SEC this year is just a monster. It's by far the best league in college basketball right now this year. So when the SEC play starts, the opportunity for quad one wins is going to happen nearly every single game. But as it sits right now, they need to get a quad one game. What is it, Memphis on their schedule? Is that their non-com final opportunity?
Yeah, I think so. If they think Memphis got beat the other day, but it's going to be a lot of losses. Like Kiffin talks about, there's going to be a lot of losses. Purdue got beat a couple times after we beat them, and it's just Duke beat Auburn, Clemson beat
Arkansas State beat Memphis.
Yeah, you know, you just didn't think that was going to happen. We won, we've talked about we won the SEC-ACC challenge 14-2.
That's nuts. 14
wins against 2 losses, and the 2 losses was Auburn and Kentucky. So just look at that. So the SEC is really stout this year. The ACC is top heavy, as you saw. They're not, as you get on down, they're not very good on a lot of those teams. But
the ACC is kind of what the SEC used to be.
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch. I think there's like 9 teams in the top 25. Ole Miss is ranked 15 in the coaches, which may be the highest we've ever been, I think, in the coaches poll. 19th in the AP. You know, they look at the Ken Palm. I could go into detail on some of these, but they're the net football. I think they need to look at some of these things. The Ken Palm, the net. There's Torvik. There's 2 or 3 other rating services that really use that help them. The committee, when they get together at the end of the year, they get together and they use all these ratings. And not to say that they don't use the eye test, some, because that's the humans, you know. But some of these things could be really helpful to the committee and the football CFP.
Yeah, and you know, when we come back right after this break, we're going to talk about the college football playoff and how some of these basketball metrics that they've used over the last 30 years would help them out over this subjective little thing that's going on. So stick around for that. We'll be right back with it. But first of all, nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now you can save on an unforgettable gift of 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, you can score an extra $30 off with the promo code College. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gifts with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites from legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners can get an extra $30 off with promo code college. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with a promo code college. Minimum purchases may apply. All right, Tim, let's change gears a little bit to the college football playoff. That's kind of the thing that's on everybody's mind at the moment. Listen, my take on this thing, and I've said this over and over again, I think the system that they got to where they are now is broken, but they ultimately got the right teams in the field. I think that there's way too much drama surrounding this, and that eliminates the fact of seeding things and doing things the way they need it to be done. And I think that maybe the answer to all of this is to have a net, to have a college football of Ken Pom, to do something like the BCS rankings with a 16-team tournament and kind of take the subjective human element out of it. Because right now, everything is so polarized. No matter what you're in, your beliefs and what's going on is going to be polarized against the other side. And it's not about listening to everything and being subjective. It's about making your side better. So maybe take the human element out of it and just kind of bring back the BCS, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would help a lot. When we talked about the net, the Ken Pom, the Torvik, several of those that they could use in football that would really help the committee. I know they got to have a committee to place the team somewhat, but the basketball committee seem like they do a lot better than the other. But we'll see how it goes. But I feel good about it. We talk about Ole Miss. What happened there? They got beat by Kentucky. What happened again? They got beat by Florida, and LSU was in between that. So did Ole Miss deserve to be in it? I would love to say and be a homer that they did, and I wish they would be in it, but they didn't deserve it. When it come down to it, the loss by Kentucky just ended up being such a bad loss. And but the CFP, these ratings would definitely help. I could see where it really helped the guys, even the guys in the room. I think they would enjoy that, to see all these metrics and the analytics that the Kiffin talks about, all these analytics on all these different teams, and see if Ole Miss or Alabama is better than SMU. Or you could look at it. Still, they got to play, guys. They got to play. You don't know. There's so many upsets these days. The parity, as we talk about in football, basketball, and all the sports. But I think it would help some.
Yeah, and you need a system like the net to where you can look at it. It's like, hey, Oregon has 2 quad 1 wins, and you can set it up to where quad 1 is like a top 10, quad 2 is a top 25, quad 3 is like 25 to 50, and quad 4 is the very bottom of the list. And you just kind of rank people just like they do in college basketball when they're looking at the seeding. And this would be a nice little template to build out a resume, because I do think there's a problem last night with the schedule imbalances that are going along college football right now. You need a resume. Texas and SMU did not beat a top 25 team this year. They're in the playoff. They probably deserve to be there because they won 11 games, and SMU, they're fine. I have no problem with them being in the field, but you need a way to look at the resume of these teams. Texas lost to Georgia twice, and they're probably, if they play again, they're going to lose to them a third time. But that doesn't mean Texas doesn't deserve to be there. There just needs to be a way, other than the fact that just because that you put these teams into the field.
Yeah, then also my little thing is the non-conference games, it seemed like they didn't even really care. They didn't even look at the non-conference games, and, we didn't play we played 4, not really good. The next year, I think, with maybe Tulane and Washington State, that should help. So if you use these different metrics, quad 1s, especially if you win a game away, that's a big one. That's really big. And they have these neutral sites now that a lot of the basketball people are going to. Ole Miss did the one at South Haven, and they got one coming this Saturday against Southern Miss in Biloxi. These neutral sites they work good too with the net and the Ken Pom and the quad 1s. I've heard also maybe Ole Miss basketball might play at Tupelo or Jackson next year, so it'll be good to look at. But I'm for the metrics being used. I'm good for the quad ones being used more, the net being used, and something similar to Ken Palm in football that would really help everybody see it on paper, which is a lot better for old boomers. We like to see it on paper more than we do just people talking about it.
You know, you're talking about Ole Miss basketball playing in Jackson. If they're playing in the Mississippi Coliseum, I feel sorry for everybody involved. But playing Tupelo, Mississippi Coliseum makes Tad Smith look like the pavilion. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I played there back in the day. I played a lot of these different places. Like to used to go play off different places, and so it was fun to do, to get away from Oxford, and especially during the holidays when the kids are gone. So you try to go somewhere to play where you can get a crowd to come in. I think the South Haven game went well. They got to play possibly a quad one win, maybe a neutral site. Colorado State's scoring how they do this year, how their record and how they do in their league. But some of these teams that you go off and play these neutral sites really make a big difference. I heard about that. I've just been reading up on that. It's a good thing. That's why Beard likes to do the neutral sites.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tim Thomas, former Ole Miss basketball player in the 1980s. Tim, thank you very much for stopping by, and we will talk to you. Let's see, next week is Christmas week, so probably not. So maybe the week after, sometime before SEC play, we'll hook back up.
Yeah, maybe we can hook around the Memphis game before or after the Memphis game. That would be a good one. I feel like we can beat them. We got Southern Miss this Saturday in Biloxi. Shouldn't be a hard. They're 4-5. Their coach is Jay Ladner. They got beat by Tulane Tuesday night by, I think it's like 28. So it's probably not going to be a hard. And then we got Queens and we got Southern. So real quick, I'll make it real quick. Some of these, it's hard to schedule, big time teams for all these games. And you got the Queens and the Long Islands and some. It's just hard to get up. You say, why don't they blow these teams out by 40 or 50? And, the game against Grambling barely beat them. And it's hard to get up. As most of you guys have played sports of some kind. If you play in a big name team, Penn State or someone, you can get up. But sometimes when you might be playing Duke that just lost their quarterback to the portal, you may not be able to get up as much. I hope they do. I hope they all come back and have a great game. I believe they will. But it's hard to get up. So some of you guys that may not understand, it's hard to get up for all these games. The last game we played, they struggled the whole first half, and then Beard finally told them, hey, guys, you want to listen to me now? Take the ball inside. The game will be over, and that's what happened.
Anyway, Tim Thomas, thank you very much for coming on the show today, and we will talk to you about around that Memphis game and what's going on.
Merry Christmas. Hotty toddy.
Merry Christmas. Hotty toddy, bud.